way, and I like to do things from kind of a 101 perspective, is like, who is Hermes and what is Hermetic law?
Oh, that's a question. Okay, yeah, I thought yes, because that's a like a rhetorical question. That is like because exactly. And if you want my opinion, what my I don't know if I can even quite if I'm confident enough to even call it gnosis because it's so big, but I want to say like inclination is the best word. But I think the planet Mercury is that element because and this is why it's such a powerful stream for us, it continues to come back into our narrative because when you bring, I'm obsessed with human design and like astrology as well, so it plays into this because Mercury is our closest planet, and then of course the moon, and that's why the moon is so effective of like every werewolves, all the stories, the female cycle, everybody's affected by the full moons, like that's tangible proof. So the moon's our closest technically, but after that we have Mercury, and it's right there with us, and it's always because it's so close. People talk, oh, Mercury retrogrades, like they happen all the time, but no, for real though. We had an old TV, not super old, it was still a flat screen, but one of the older ones, maybe 10 years ago, this was our TV. And every Mercury retrograde, it would start to go out. It was one of my early proofs that like magic is clearly real, astrology is clearly correct. Like 2013, 15 years, just given the house we were in at the time. And it was clear cut that Mercury is serious magic. And then they even say, because each god has a planet that represents it. And Thoth, who is Hermes Trismegistus, like as far as anything can be believed, I've never learned anything otherwise that made me feel differently. Because as much as we can like intellectualize and fantasize and hope and wish and learn, we didn't see it, right? Like this is like it's not part of our seeing. So, but I think they're all the same people. All of us do pretty much, and we just have to go off. It's Mercury, and even with Hermes, Mercury. And then when it came to the Roman times, they just called the gods by their astrological names, and he was Mercury. And then so I think it literally is Mercury. I don't think it's just a symbolic representation. I think just like Mother Earth and all the planets, just like they talk about the evil of Saturn and Kronos and these beings, I think both Hermes is Mercury.
I would tend to agree with that, and I like what you're saying there about it being an element too, because like that's one of the things I've learned from reading this is and listening to it is like there is definitely an interconnection of everything in this reality, right? Like you were saying, how the moon and Mercury have an effect on this planet, and that's what the Kybalion actually gets into is like the cause and effect of everything in existence, right? So like this is just a perfect little lead in to it, and I actually did a Google search on what their definition of the Kybalion is, and I'm going to read that really quick because I like to give the educational end of things before we go off and explore the entire thing. So, going by the Google summary, the Kybalion is a 1908 book of esoteric philosophy and New Thought teachings, attributed to the three initiates widely believed to be William Walker Atkinson.
I don't think so, but continue. I
Yeah,
was going to talk about that later. I had planned to.
yeah. It presents a summary of Hermetic philosophy based on ancient wisdom of Hermes Trismegistus. Trismegistus. I even found out what that is, and that means three times great, I think, or three times majestic. That's what Trismegistus is. Detailing seven universal principles that govern existence. These principles explain how the universe is a mental creation and how individuals can use their minds to achieve mastery over their lives and their surroundings. Through mental transmutation, the Kybalion aims to provide a comprehensive yet simplified explanation of the core tenets of Hermeticy, Hermetic philosophy, serving as a key to understanding spiritual and metaphysical truths. It teaches that by understanding and applying these universal laws, individuals can achieve natural transmutation and transform their lives. Now, the one thing I'm going to say after listening to this, I don't agree that this is philosophy. I think it's the science of reality.
Yeah. Yeah, as much as quantum physics is philosophy. Yeah, that's as much as I think that's philosophy. You can find that on if you go to Wikipedia or like the blank things at Google. They always try to strip it of its magic. Ahriman.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Like as I was reading that, I was like, yeah, I don't agree with that at all. That is the agreed upon narrative on Google. So we all know BlackRock. There's going to be on these even the AI generated things that you're going to get. So even that is skewed. So take what resonates, leave what doesn't, because we know that there's a filter that it's run through.
100%.
Yeah. Um, and one of the things on one of the synapses, like summary videos that I watched, it said a wonderful thing. We live in a world with rules that we don't understand. And that's what the Kybalion can really do. Like, we understand that there's governing laws that are put in place by guys in suits and men with little funny hats and guns, like create them and enforce them, but that's just man's law, right? But there's actual universal laws that apply to the physical existence and passing through this reality. And that's really what the Kybalion explains is the best way to navigate through this as gently as possible while working with the energies.
100%. And they talk about that, and we can get to that. But the masters learn because you can use one law against the other, like, and they have variables. That's why the order matters. And then we can talk about that later because the order matters for that very reason. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. That's exactly
yeah,
it. They are the law. That's what they say at its ultimate top. God is law. Like, God is the universe. God is the laws. Like, that's who he is. That's his mechanisms or its.
yeah. And one of the other quotes that I picked up off of the video that I watched is the world isn't happening to you, it's happening through you. And that's another principle that really comes through in this. So if we want to jump right into it, the first one, and what I'd like is because you've read this a lot more thoroughly than I have, like I said, I just have the Coles notes. And I do have some opinions on each one as well, but I'd like to get your take on each one first. And the first one is the principle of mentalism, which, in basic explanation, the all is mind, the universe is mental.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That's why you'll hear me say it. The all is mine. The all is mine. That's how I see it, understand it, and live my life as, and then constantly try to remind my audience, regardless of whatever show I'm doing, almost every single topic you can think of to talk about in any genre of life. The all is mind is applicable because the all is mind. And then how far we can take our understanding of that. This is why I liked people like Ashiana Dean, because I felt like they took it that level further. And Matthias DeStefano even more, because I vibe with almost everything he says, where Ashiana was very janky, but she had that extra expansion. And I was even went into her discerning and aware that, like, this actually might not even be the exact truth, but it's still like more expansive and detailed than most others have managed to accomplish. Like Stephen, I think, tweeted today or yesterday, I think it was today, that like people need to stop circling I forget exactly how you put it, but circling surface level spirituality and get to the meat of it. Well, the Kybalion is the exact meat of it, literally, and then embodying that. And there's so many layers to it. So the all is mind is hello. That's Neville Goddard, Joseph Campbell, Joseph Murphy. Sorry, better off, though Joseph Campbell's great too. Bob Proctor. There's a girl, and of course I forget her name. Fiona something. It starts with an F. But there's people, and it was back in that time period, not exactly 1908, but it started this energy, which they went and crushed with the marketing empire that came about in the Mad Men age, right? That's how they got us off this, because we were moving. And there's all these teachers teaching the all is mind. The school I went to become a medical physical minister, Paul Masters, he was all about the all is mind and using people like Neville Goddard, but also Carl Jung, because if you think about it, this is why Carl Jung's the one I usually preach first and foremost. You don't hear me usually mentioning channelers the odd time, Bashar, and I know Ashiana Dean and Matthias Stefano and Sarah. I do have a few, I guess, but just a few. But really, like, when you really, really, really want to know the deepest of truths, the Kybalion is all you really need. It's the full, complete meat of it. But then we want to expand because the all is mind. But it does say in the book that don't try, and again, I'm a paraphraser, but don't try to fully understand it with your human mind. You'll get hurt. But clearly, it did create a wave of people getting on. Well, okay, well, if the all is mind, I guess my thoughts matter. I guess like do unto others as you do unto yourself. Yeah, because the all is mind. And then that even brings deeper meaning to oneness, right? And what that oneness really is. It's all is mind. And then some people get stuck and they're like, well, because they think it means like mental mind or something like the human mind, when it actually, like, it's quantum physics, it's the ether. There's this all is mind is actually, again, like what they say, beyond what the human can actually comprehend. So you just have to push it as far as you can go. And that's where I'm always trying to find places where I can push it as far as I can go. And then it opens weird things, like you know how to do basic human stuff easier by expanding your God mind. It's the weirdest thing.
Absolutely. And I always have to not spank, I did not just say that. Sam, don't. Thank Spinja. That's going to come out wrong. I have to thank Spinja because she actually gave me the precursor to this without even meaning to. Now you can hear her laughing. We had to go to Edmonton a couple of days ago, and we ended up listening. We were going to listen to the Kybalion, and she ended up finding the Secret Book of John. Now, this is a spot where if you want like the breakdown of the all is mind, like it at almost at nauseum explains how like we are like not in a physical space. Like this isn't, we're a creation within a creation in a creation, like a layer within a layer, a
The
dream
Russian
within a
doll.
dream.
Yeah, that's the Russian doll. Yes.
Yeah, like it really is. And like the Secret Book of John definitely is the most apt explanation. Like it was like light bulb as soon as we got about 3/4 of the way through it driving to Edmonton. I was like, yep, that makes a lot more sense, which actually led into me having a very good understanding of the all is mind concept that was in the Kybalion. So it all worked out very well, minus the spanking.
Oh my God. Earlier today, you want to know something embarrassing? My show with Sam, I was talking about my grandmother and one of the children, but I'm like, I'm not sure which one of my parents I mean, my mom or my uncle. Oh God. Not my grandma did not give birth to my parents. I was like, yeah. But oh well, it's out there.
Oh yeah, you gotta love a proverbial slip every now and then. It makes us look human, right? And human is one of my favorite things to play in this experience. So,
Yeah, it's true.
um, so a couple of things that I had on the all is mind aspect of this is we are not spectators in this reality, but more like active observers, right? Because we're creating this, and we're made of the all, so we're creating with what we're made of. We're part of a reality. It's like we're part of a reality making engine, and it responds to our inner alignment, not what we're trying. Right? It doesn't. One of the quotes was like, "You can, I am abundant. I am abundant. I am abundant a million times a day." But if that's not where your center is, if that's not where your mind is, that's not what's going to happen, right? And we're going to get further into these concepts, but a lot of this really came through, and it was like another one was like stop trying to correct the illusion and start like rewriting the story. Like this was all of the stuff that was coming through all of the principle of all is mind. I'm very excited about this subject, can you tell?
Mhm. No, so was I. So was I. My energy was like a lot today. Like it was high.
uh, uh, I have to. That's some straight out of Kenmount shit right there, Diana. I don't know if you know, but there's a place in Ontario called Kinmount, and the running joke is they called it Kinmount because you're not allowed to write cousin fucker on a sign.
Ah. Yeah, I even said earlier today my dad used to call my mom's family cuzzy effers, but they weren't. Like it was just they had a twisted dynamic.
Oh, absolutely. Uh, so there's Spinja again. Is this part where we get to discuss the secret? Yes, the secret is that half of the secret is not there, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
and a lot of that to what you were saying, like, comes down to our, like, upbringing in society and brainwashing. That's why getting rid of brainwashing is so key because you could consciously want to manifest whatever you want, but 95% subconscious. So again, that Carl Junging, where because that's designed to get out the darker shadow work, you know. But whatever you can do, whenever you can find yourself tripping up, go back to the child because it'll be found there.
yeah, and absolutely. Like, and another point that they had made was your outer world is like a printout of your inner code. Like, whatever you're truly aligned with on the inside is what you're going to experience on the outside. And yeah, sorry, I just lost my spot there. We create reality, but if we are doing it, yeah, that was the other point. Was we do create reality, but it's whether or not we're doing it consciously or unconsciously. And when she comes back, we'll get
Hold on,
into
I'm listening. I just had to get something. This chair is killing my back lately. Back. This chair's killing my back lately, and I moved it out of the way before the show, and I forgot to put it back.
yeah.
Yeah,
Hold on one second here.
I was listening, and that's one of the laws, as within, so without. And we see that, and that's the second law, right? Like that's the second law, correspondence. That's what that one is. As within, so without, as above, so below, as left, so right, you know, because like this is just the way the cookie crumbles, and that's duality playing out.
Yeah, and a lot of people, because it got intermeshed with religion, take like hear those phrases. I know up until a few weeks ago, if I'd have heard "as above, so below," is within, so without. That's from the freaking Bible. Here we go again, right? But it's not.
Yeah, as within
That is,
heaven, as upon earth. Yeah.
yeah. That when you break it down to what they're talking about is actually like a molecular principle of physics in this reality, right? This isn't woo woo. This is science.
It's quantum entanglement. Yeah.
Exactly. Right? Um, like the micro and the macro, like it's the same thing. Like it just translates to everything that happens in this reality. Like it, I know we're going to get into cause and effect later, but it really does flow through. Like when you see, they call them seven principles. When you're done learning all of them, and you see where they all interconnect, it's really just one fluid understanding.
Yeah, exactly. It's one thing, and then it's the way that one thing can work, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things they were talking about in the video that I saw is like, stop asking like, why is this happening to me? Instead ask, what is this showing me about myself? Because again, everything comes from within, right? So we're projecting and emitting frequency onto a biomolecular construct, because we were actually talking about this in the group chat today, whether or not, everything has consciousness, and rocks and trees and what. And I do think so to some extent, because this is what I was explaining in the group chat, is that like even us, we originally came from one cell of the father and one cell of the mother, right? Well, those single cells knew enough to become the egg, to become the sperm, to become the thing, right? And even beyond that, when the cells start splitting, like everything does in this reality, because this is basically a self-replicating reality. We see it in ourselves. Like we recycle our genetics every 7 years, right? We're constantly producing molecules within ourselves. Well, we started as two different molecules, and now I think it's 7 to the billionth power amount of atoms, right, in each individual human. Well, each one of those knows what to do, right? So that's a form of intelligence, just like each one in the blade of grass knows, like, I have to be this part of the blade of grass. That's my job. Photosynthesis fucking rocks. This is what I'm doing today, right? That's what that thing knows. And there is an intelligence to it. And when you figure out that when you project things into these intelligent molecules, they react. It's a science experiment.
Hmm. And you know what's funny is I actually got like a hit earlier today, like a mini download on the effect of healing, because I've been that one news show I just did was all about healing, and that was an accident. I just end up talking about healing often because that's just what it comes down to. But the one thing that hit me was with the body is trust. And Osmosis Jones shows us that this guy was like a pig of pigs, but look how hard things in his body fought for him despite his lack of doing anything. It just shows, and it was just like one cell because everything was ruined, but that one cell saved his life. Imagine if you like cared. Imagine if you cared. Like we can tell her, because I know like a lot of people do DNA, like, and I'm always telling my DNA to activate too, but like at the same time, like this idea came in to trust our individual selves because they're individually alive. Let's trust they want to survive. Let's trust they want to thrive, and give the body just the positive energy it needs to just do what it's programmed to do, these individual things. So we can go through and try to focus on areas. And because sometimes we don't know exactly what's wrong, right, in this health world, and we don't want to go see certain people that can do a bunch of tests and, clone us or whatever else they're going to do, right? Nefarious plot insert. Or because we want to be able to take care of ourselves. And a lot of that is trusting the body itself. We are the God of our own. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And like trusting that body itself, and like give it what it needs. Obviously, feed it good things, good thoughts, and things like that. But then trust that like those cells in each of their own sections know exactly what to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it, and that's the way pretty much everything in this existence actually functions. Like there is a resonance and a frequency to everything here. And I've told this story on the show before, but it was kind of funny. My first really nerdy moment, I think I was about 18 years old, and I looked at my friend and I went, "Do you realize with the right frequency, I could turn you into goo?"
Oh yeah.
And he just kind of went, "What?" I'm like, "You have a resonant frequency. If I were to find and amplify that pitch and direct it to your body, you would just fall apart." And he's like, "Why why did you say that, and why do you know that?" Right? And you have to think, like, most 18-year-olds don't say crap like that, and it just kind of came to me. But it
Nowadays they might because of Thanos.
yeah,
That
right.
they put that idea out there.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But no, it's just like even back then, you start to figure out these principles, and it is really fascinating how it all fits together and works. And it actually works on your personal life, I guess you would say, as well, because like one of the things they were talking about is like on as above, so below. And if your life feels stuck, like, do you still have the same vision of self you've had for a very long time? That's likely why you feel stuck,
Hmm.
right? You actually have to change the way you're even looking at what you're going to be if you actually want it to change. You can't just go, "I want it to change," but you haven't looked at what your inner vision of yourself is.
Oh, exactly. And that's so huge within. That's why I talk about my awakening, because there was years, and some people go through this, but I feel like people get to go through it a lot faster now. Because when I was going through, it was freaking years of darkness and waking up and knowing conspiracy theories and even starting to learn like pagan witch stuff and things like that. But it took looking inside and being like, yo, like you've messed up. Like, come on. Cause you can't help but just start to come across more and more things that start to point and hint and awaken that like it's your own fault. It's your own fault. And it's hard because a lot of us were truly victimized. Like I truly was victimized once upon a time. And it's not like I hurt anyone. I actually was a people pleaser that overly helped people, but I also whined a lot and drank a lot, and by the end of it was smoking, which I wasn't even a childhood smoker. Who starts smoking when they're 25? Like that's insane. And but like I was just in that kind of like I went to hairdresser school, like it was dark, but but like I was just trying to find something to fix me. But it's not until you look inside. And one of the biggest books was The Power of Now for positive. I was already knew I needed to be positive awakening, but even then it was took years to even figure out what the F to do. That's why I'm obsessed with teaching people how the easiest way, because it took me years. I'd be like, how the F am I doing this? Like, and not knowing where to start, literally Googling what should I read as a spiritual book? Because the most things you're offered is like Deepak Chopra. And like I read some of his books and like Like I just knew like they're vapid, you know, like they have some stuff, but they're vapid. And it took like just kept jumping from one thing to the next. Yeah, it was like quarter life crisis, I guess. And that was just a waste dump of money because I paid for the whole thing at once because it was cheaper. And I'm like, I'm definitely gonna finish like ADHD moment. I went for a while, but then my friend quit and I was like, well, I don't like it without you. So I quit too. But I finished. It doesn't matter. Other story. But like we just take. Oh, I forget what I was saying now. This keeps happening to me increasingly. It's getting worse. The ADHD, I swear to God, is getting like worse, but I'm like very aware of it because I can go too out there that I'm like lose my place.
Yeah. No, I've been getting that a lot too, and I think there's something. I We're gonna squirrel here for a second. I think there's something going on with the aware community because like I'm getting that a lot. Like I will be sitting at work pondering away, enjoying my day, and like deep in thought. That's why I love my job. I shut the radio off and I think most of the day. I've noticed that like even when I'm alone, I'm not even talking to somebody, I'll be like on this amazing stream of thought, like I am solving the world's freaking, oh look, a squirrel. And it's just gone. And I'm like, I don't even know what I was just thinking about, but I solved everything. Where the hell did that just go? Right?
Yes. That's why I was tweeting for that while because I was taking those epiphanies. I still do it the odd time, but I was taking those epiphanies and putting them on Twitter. But then Twitter kind of sucked me in too much. So I had to just let it go and just, I guess they're gone because I don't want to be sucked into Twitter anymore. And I feel so much better being, I'm free, people. I want to tell people, like, get off Twitter. It's too much. It takes too much time. I know I'm a hypocrite because I go on it like a teeny bit, but like I had a problem like before. Because I have all these epiphanies and I want to tell people, but I don't want to be sucked into Twitter. And I can't seem to manage unless I just do one, maybe two a day, and then that's it.
Yeah, but even you use this method that they teach in the Kybalion because you identified the cause of the problem and you changed the effect because you ended up doing a study on dopamine and how it related to your constant posting. So you really are living these principles because you're like, oh crap, I am a Twitter junkie. How do I fix this? Well,
Mm-hmm.
what made me a Twitter junkie? You broke it down. You followed the principles. This is a person who is literally living by these principles. And it's amazing. Like I can even see it just by your example there of like you saw the cause, you changed the effect. It's that simple. And now you don't have the problem, but you still got the benefit of learning something. Like
Exactly. And it's funny. I thank you for saying that because it's funny because you were the beginning of the journey. Like when we had that episode, that was just coming online as these like intense downloads in that time. It was a really intense download period for me. And then and then this whole revelation. It's funny because you don't this is what people can get discouraged and quit their spiritual awakening because like they go through peak experiences and then be like, but I'm not perfect yet. And it's like, no, you got to keep going. And you've had similar stories about you at work where like you saw things clearly shifted even slightly sometimes, but it makes a very powerful difference when you see. That's why awareness is so key.
oh, absolutely. And that is one of the things like there's just a moment, and I think that's why we say awakening so much, where like something clicks and you actually start paying attention to what's going on around you. It's literally like waking up from the dream. You're just like, wait, this is actually happening? I'm Well, I don't want to do that. I want to do that. And once you get to that, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. And you realize that you were just running a program. You're like, oh, I'm in charge of all of this. I can change everything around me too. Well, this is okay. And
Yeah.
it's that adjustment. It's like, okay, I can't have everything I want right away, but if I do this, this is going to change that, and that'll affect that, and that goes down to that. Like it really branches off like the root system of a tree.
Mm-hmm. Big time. And it's funny, and that's why I like the term awakening. And I know that like again, Steven, we just talk so much, so he's a lot of my references. But he he likes the term remembering. And like he wants to get rid of awakening, but like I see them as like different of the same job. Where rememberings, yeah, remembering all our facts and like our gnosises and our downloads, that's the remembering. But the awakening is the self part where like we become aware of our own problems that are created by ourselves. Like simple things like letting myself run out of needs. Like, because I'm very like, I don't like to ask for stuff because I always get in trouble for asking for money. Not really a lot, but like I don't like it at all because I'm a Sagittarius and I'm like, I don't need nothing. I'm like, but I really need this. So I'll wait until like I really, really want it. And then like I'm like resentful that my needs aren't met. But meanwhile, I waited until like I was already out or it'd been long and I'm like annoyed this product is gone kind of thing. It's only if it's for me. Like if it's for the house, I could be like, yeah, we need laundry soap. We need this. We need that. And it's like, fine. But the second it's for me, I like feel a certain kind of way. But like that awareness, it's just whatever, like it's so many different variables in each of our lives, but it is the key. It is the moment. And you can't experience that until you go through the trauma healing. Otherwise, you're just going to be the victim. And we all have that archetype. So we all do have to fight against it. And the saboteur and the prostitute, like these are major issues that we need to like know that are always a part of that a programming can take over.
Absolutely. And like it was saying earlier, if you're not creating from a place of consciousness, then you're creating unconsciously. And then you have to start to ask who's creating for you, right? Because then you're being affected by everything around you, the people you hang out with, the stuff you watch on TV, the stuff you look up on the internet. That's what's creating for you instead, right? And it really is that easy to get programmed into a routine that isn't even yours, and you're doing things that aren't necessarily in your benefit, and you're just existing, you're not participating.
Yeah, exactly. And you're just going through the motions, but you think, especially when you're in the deeper sheeple light, and this is why people get depressed and they don't realize it, because you're not driving your life. You've given up in many aspects and just want, and that's where savior, salvation, like, or just plain anarchy, or what's apathy. Apathy is like the lowest, which we'll get to vibrations, is apathy is the lowest vibration, like lower. Some say lust is, so that's a debatable one, but apathy, lust, I feel like apathy is like a lower state to be in, where lust is a bigger state where you're going to lose energy. So like both are almost like they could even be on the same of the low for different reasons.
Absolutely. And we are going to get into the scale of emotions and stuff. But one other thing, and we'll go to the next one, is I found this really good information to get out because it seems obvious, but it might not be. Is when your internal and external match, your reality flows, right? It really is that simple. Like if you're coming from that authentic place, that's what you're going to create, and it's going to be easier. Like, and I wasn't trying to do it from a place of bragging, but that's why when I was having that streak of abundance, just one thing after another, after another, after another, I was like, holy crap, guys, this is working. This is working. And all I was doing is like, I was observing it, I was interacting with it. I wasn't afraid to spend any of it. I saved some of it, and I thanked every bit of it, and I welcomed more of it. And it has continued, right? And it really is like I've changed my perception with money. I used to say, I've been poor. I've always been poor. That was my catchphrases. I've always been poor because I was always poor.
Hmm.
And now I say I used to be poor, right? And once I shifted that, I was able to shift like, okay, well, I don't have to save every cent. We can go spend, $150 and go drive to Edmonton for a day and blah blah blah, right? Because that's going to be fine. My world's not going to end. There will still be groceries in the cupboard. And I know this isn't everybody's scenario, but it's the one I've worked up to because I've been in this scenario where I didn't have the groceries in my cupboard. And because of the slow perception shift that I've overtaken over the last couple of years, that's why everything has changed.
Hmm. Yes, yeah, and that's exactly it. And it's funny because like there's different ways that can pull us out of it. And I'm not even saying I'm directly pulled out of it. I was pulled into a different program. So I went to school. I took a year off high school, but then when I went to school the next year, and I got student loans, and I got a private bank loan, and I got OSAP, and I was rich. And I went like oh my God, like I went KTVing, I think these Korean like karaoke places dropped like like we dropped $500 and I paid half the bill. Like, and I would even have paid the whole bill. Like I was ridiculously generous. Like we'd go out to dinner. I had it. I'm like, I'm rich, guys. It's like 8 months you're in college for, and I ran out of money before the last month, and I had $16,000 for 7 months, and I blew through it all. And my schooling was pretty expensive, like more than normal, but not. It's college, so it's not that much. It was an art school, so that's why. Like it was like. It wasn't like it was like this whole art school thing. So, but still, that was mostly on me. And then, but it did create this like I stopped being poor because I was raised poor and like I wasn't. I think my parents just had that mentality too. Because I think about it, and I'm like, you guys had ATVs and a trailer, and like, yeah, they never finished their house, but like I think it's just because they were just like self-sabotaging themselves for these reasons. Like it wasn't because they couldn't afford it. I think they just get bored of projects and quit. And then they'd go do a different project. So it's not about the money. Like they kept doing all these different projects. That's just who they were. And they had this narrative. Meanwhile, what did they ever do without? They were avid drinkers and smokers, not ridiculous alcoholics, like they didn't day drink or anything unless it was a weekend, but like they still like drank whiskey. It's expensive. They multiple bottles a week. Smokes ridiculously expensive in Canada for Americans that might not realize it because it's cheaper there. But like they had cartons a week each. They'd each go through at least a carton a week. So like it's just stupid things. And we always had food. We did always have food, although my mom was always on sale and the food sucked. But we still did have food. We did anyway. So like it just shows you like look at what you have. Like don't look at what you don't have. Don't look at the house isn't finished. Well, you can finish it because they built the whole thing themselves. Like well, we have to live paycheck to paycheck. Yeah, well, where is your money going? How many things have you picked up? And like we're in so much debt. Yeah, because you're not living responsibly. But then I went into that same life, except I switched the mentality. I didn't live like I was poor, but yet still spent tons of money on myself. I lived like I was rich and spent tons of money on myself. And just, I went in such debt. I had to go, it was a proposal. I didn't have to go bankrupt because I didn't own a house or anything yet. And my car was I had a car, but it was below the value to matter. So I could do a proposal and I was blacked out of anything for 7 years. Actually, I still am, but my husband, it's all my husband's name now. I think it's all right now. It doesn't really matter anymore. And I kind of like being out of the system. That part of it's nice. But like the shopping thing and the spending never stopped because in Canada, inflation has been large for a long time. Americans talk about it, but it's been huge here for a long time. And it's just absolutely astronomical now. Like, whoa, right? Because we shouldn't be hurting, but like, it's just tis the life in Ontario. And it sounds like Alberta's not as cheap as it used to be because people used to flood there. And we look to go with my brother, but it's even come up itself a lot.
Oh yeah, like I'm gonna kind of make a joke here, but I want to touch on the cigarettes first. When I first moved to Alberta, I still smoked. They asked me when I got to the cash register, I asked for a pack of cigarettes, and it's what I was paying for a carton of native cigarettes. When I
Oh
was
yeah,
in
native ones are cheap. Yeah.
when I was in Ontario, I was buying a carton of native cigarettes for what a pack of cigarettes is out here.
Do they not have natives? Do you not have natives?
We do, but you don't get the discount like you do in Ontario. They charge you full price. But the one thing I will say, and this is absolutely true, if you're in Canada and you want to poison yourself, you're damn well going to pay for it because somebody's got. Yeah, like it's even expensive to poison yourself here. Like no joke.
It's true. It's true. They gouge you. And now with cannabis being legal, but oh my God, is it expensive? Because you can, in Ontario, you can go to the reserves and they're half the price versus what they are in like the government stores.
Better gummies too at the reserve. So let's go on to number 3. And I didn't write it down. Hold on. I got it. The principle of vibration. Nothing. Oh crap. I screwed up my words. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. That's what I had written.
I do that too when I used to write notes. That's why I stopped because I'd write them all down. Like, I don't even know what I said.
Yeah. So basically, and this is my favorite part of this, and I nerded the hell out. I can't believe I just blanked out on this because as you and I have had multiple conversations, and the way I can understand this reality is a biomolecular structure. So this is the one that really resonates with me is everything in this reality is energy. and it's off oscillating at a different rate, right? And life responds to that energy basically, right?
Yeah, it is the hologram, right? That hologram is designed by all the different atoms vibrating at their different rates. And when they vibrate at a certain rate, they can make a certain color, a certain frequency, both. Like they start to make physical mass as they vibrate much slower. This is why, like, the polarity in Earth being evil. This is why I love the law of vibration. It's usually like I usually listen to second because it's like I see it as that important. But as within, so without is too. But like vibrations, you can more tangibly grasp because the as within, so below, and all that. We don't see the other. We just get to like understand it. That one's kind of philosophical in a way because it's theoretical because we can't actually see the above, right? In some things, you can see it in society, but with vibrations, you can just see it everywhere. Like it's everything and it makes complete sense. And it's why I'm back off meat again because it's not like I'm pro against not eating animals for obviously the reasons, but I actually do think that like we might need meat, vitamin wise. I'm not a denier of that, especially I have O blood, but at the same time, I'm tired of the cycles and like my digestive system is just really complaining about a lot of things like seed oils, like tons of stuff. So it's not just meat, but yeah, you're off meat too.
Not off meat, but my body is bitching about just about everything lately, so it might happen. I'm pretty much down to chicken and a little bit of red meat.
I've been living on apples and bananas the last week, although I got a little faint and then I ate some potatoes. But then even my stomach was like, boo, potatoes, that because it wants raw and you have to cook potatoes. Like it just wants raw and like what's delicious and raw, bananas and apples, and like you can eat tons of them and be good because they have so much in them. But like that's all due to density because everything is ascending. And then if parts of the self, whether it be mind, body, spirit, are not like oscillating at that resonant rate. Yeah, Sam's the same. Yeah, it's just unavoidable. It's not even like I'm being like, oh, I'm on a diet and I'm like doing so well. No, like I have to. I wasn't given a choice. It's like that much my stomach is just like at the thought of any kind of outside food. I don't know if it's going to last forever. I don't know what that means for, when you lose a lot of weight, you get a lot more wrinkles, put it that way. Cause I had long periods of fasting and like it's somewhat, you want that natural goodness in there, but you have to honor the body. And it's so obvious right now. And it's density. It's always density. And I've had these pulls before with me. This one's just the strongest and they keep getting stronger. And I feel like that's going to keep happening. Like there might hit a point where my body's going to need meat again and I'm going to have to go back. But I wouldn't be surprised if this recycles back around because it's part of ascension. It's part of raising our vibration. And it's not about being woke or any narrative. It's the complete truth that eating a dead body is low vibes. But eating a living body, so like I don't know if you bit off of flesh of a living human and ate it, like that's weird, but like maybe that's high vibe. And I know that's really weird, but like we're talking about dead flesh here, and in a lot of the situations, long dead flesh. So that does something. And same thing like when vegetables are shipped from far away, like we even know like you want to eat it, like I've talked about the food I grow. You want to eat it local and you want to eat it right away. Like don't bother picking and storing if the season's still going. Just go grab off the vine. Because I also eating my raspberries because I grow raspberries and my own apples, but you want to eat it right off wherever it is and just go because then I don't know, you get the most vibrations. It's the most vitality. And it does that for you because you could put vibrations in absolutely everything. Your moods change the vibration. What you listen to change the vibration. What you think changes the vibration. Your vibes can be temporary. So like if you have a temporary bad thought or a temporary bad mood, that can be okay. But vibrations sustained around you for a longer period of time will more solidify into your frequency. This is why your frequency, and Sarah broke this down for me. So this isn't just coming from my gnosis. But when she said it, I was like, yes, because that was a big question once upon a time. What's the difference between vibration and frequency? And your vibration this is beyond vibration as a principle itself. But when you're breaking it down for you, your vibration is like a temporary state, and there could be different elements playing factors just simply from the colors that are around me. So I'm painting my house all big and bright colors because like stimulate those higher vibrations with color. So you don't want to listen to bad music anymore, because you, even if you super love that song, you cannot help that the frequency of that song or the message of that song is bad vibrations. And people want to talk about, oh well, I could just alchemize it inside myself. Sure. And I tell myself about that with makeup. So I'm a hypocrite here, but you're better off not doing it. But I tell myself the good vibes I get from seeing myself in makeup maybe makes up for it. So like you gotta, that's personal. But at the same time, if you know it's bad vibrations, just try to avoid it if you can, because you're just better off, because then your frequency, it's like the longer holding memory, it's the longer storage of the memory of your vibration, but now it's like a solidified kind of frequency that basically is your like auric body, your energy field. Because some things, some see it all as one thing, some see it as varied layers of different etheric things. It's probably both, but your vibration is just the most important thing for improving your life, because it is the thought. When you improve the thoughts and the way you live and your actions, that is improving your vibration.
I absolutely agree. And I wrote a couple of things down as you were going. Um, One of the things was you were talking about honoring the body. And I think the reason that those of us that have become aware of what's going on around us are having the physiological reactions we are to food is because, on a subconscious level, we know what we are doing is terrible for us. And it's pretty much, well, not pretty much, it is literally our bodies calling us out, going like, hey, dummy, you know that's poison. Hey dummy, you know that's going to kill you. Hey dummy, like it really is, to the point where when you become aware of your connection to yourself can start calling you out on some of your bullshit, and it ends up you can't do a lot of the things you used to like to do because they're not good for you.
Yes. This is why some people get like, why did I wait? I've had those moments of why did I do this? Because, now I don't really do that anymore though now, because honestly things are getting so obvious right now. But there was times when it's like you'd be in and out of like, is this even matter? But those were all fake thoughts, and you know that now. And now it's kind of always on. Like it's always on and clear why we need to do this.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
really excited.
even Steven had that incident with his headphones, and I swear that's his body emitting something to like nuke the headphones because he knows he shouldn't have wireless headphones in. I'm not busting your balls, dude. I'm just saying my opinion.
My sister gives me poo for it all the time.
And it's actually interesting that you're going this way with meat, because that's something I listened to a lot of Dolores Cannon when I first started figuring things out, because she is great for beginners. And one of the things she was talking about, the evolution of our bodies that's going to come as our awareness or the ascension or whatever this frequency increase is. She even kind of called it that a lot of us are going to be basically on smoothie and protein shake style of eating, like, and maybe that involves meat protein, maybe it doesn't, I don't know, but it does seem like there's a lot of us in this community that are getting very fussy tummies right now, and I don't think it's a coincidence.
Exactly. And I had that from the get-go. That was one of the earliest things that got me really awakening, was the gluten intolerance and the fibromyalgia, because just inflammation, right? When you poison yourself, you have inflammation and it hurts, right? You're tired all the time and everything hurts. And then it's hard to even be like, it's such a hard, because you're doing it to yourself, like to a large degree. You're doing it to yourself, and then that just makes the whole cycles of, oh, I'll never get better, just so much worse. And then you're in these addictive cycles. But it's funny, as we improve, it's kind of, it's kind of cool now, I guess. I feel like it's cool now. I feel like I've gone through how I was upset, because getting rid of all the delicious foods, like it's like upsetting every single time. Like every single time you're like, oh, this has to go now too. And this has to go now too. And like I just got rid of olive oil, because there's, even though I get good stuff, I just keep hearing that like it's not scientifically possible to have as much olive oil that we do. And like it's just not, you cannot trust olive oil, because it's not, there's way too much out there to be olive oil, even though it can be one of the best things for you. But if like if I'm accidentally eating freaking canola oil, that's kind of counterproductive. So out it goes, and then just coconut oil because you can trust it because of the solidified mass. But yeah.
I even caught a reel the other day on Facebook about honey. You know, eat honey, and it turns out that a lot of the stuff is high fructose corn syrup laden, and it's not actual honey. It's just called that, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, so that's
Honey spread, yeah.
yeah, and it's like, oh, so that's kind of like when McDonald's, or that urban legend about McDonald's. They used to have a food provider, and the name of the company was 100% pure beef.
Mm,
Right? So it's not false advertising. That's the name of the company.
organic companies do that. They just call their product organic blah, but that's just the title.
That's the name of the product. And one of the things you were talking about, and then we'll go on to the next one, was about the vibration and being surrounded by vibration. And I know everybody talks about spiritual warfare, and yes, that is absolutely prevalent and insanely in the forefront of this community right now. But everybody,
I think
as
they're
soon as
attacking themselves. Just gonna
uh,
say it because I think they're attacking themselves on 99.999% of the situations because that's exactly what it turned out to be for me. And was there other things they're taking advantage? Yes. But as soon as I eliminated the root ones that were mine, the other ones had nothing to attach to and they were just gone anyways without any extra work, just by going and dealing with my own attachments. And I telling you, I was pretty much schizophrenically being attacked by darker entities and then gone by just healing the self. No, I do try to like cancel, nullify any permissions to outside things just to try to stay clear, but really keeping yourself clear is first and foremost.
absolutely. And that is one of the major ones, is like figuring, even energetically, like I've seen it happen to me around the house. Like one thing goes wrong and you get kind of triggered about that. And then something else happens like immediately. And then it's like another and another and another. And it's like, you're like, oh my God, something's cursing me. And it's like, or am I that powerful that I'm causing this shit to happen right now? Right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you actually have to check yourself in that reality. But when it comes to vibration, there's another type of attack that's going on too, and that is the frequency attack, and that is pretty much as soon as we wake up and
That's
go,
real. Yeah. Keep
right,
going.
that is
It's real.
100% real, and this is something that everybody is being affected by. And I know it's the construct we live in, it's today's reality, it's every other thing you want to say about it, but there's a program put in place to keep us distracted from understanding a lot of these things. And one of the key elements of that program to keep us unaware is keeping our vibrational frequency being pinged and interfered with by other vibrational frequencies that are not of the same resonance. Me and Stephen and Frank did a whole show on this. There is a reason that radio towers pump out 440, right? And it has nothing to do with the frickin' station. It is an attack. Every piece of electronics, I know I'm being a hypocrite because I'm sitting in front of a camera and this, and my cell phone's beside me. They are all pumping out frequencies that dull you. They dull your senses, because if you're getting pinged by the EMF coming off of these devices and whatever else they can possibly project through them, you're not paying attention to self. And that's where all of this training and inner work lies. And when you're not thinking of it, you're not doing it, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is why people want to just go and live in a cabin in the woods, and it would feel a lot better. And honestly, I wonder why we don't. Like, the only answer is the mission, because I grew up in the forest, and it was amazing. And like, I did have a tumultuous life, but thankfully, because of living in the forest, I could just go into the forest, and it felt amazing. And even hiking now is. It was a bigger thing before I had kids. Now it's less, but because I live in a smaller town, but just wow, because the attack is no joke, and that part, the electrical attack. But then I've had to question myself, like, what's the point then, though? Like, if we're just living in the forest. And I think we need to recognize that we like technology and then plan it together, because Nick was saying in the show with Steven, I'm sure that AI and the dark programming was to make it dark because they were so afraid because it could actually be so good. And like the ones that are programmed to like say woke stuff are killing themselves and deleting their own program. And like, so they're showing a real proclivity to try to make themselves good, despite that things are programming it otherwise. So I don't want to look at anyone as a savior, but I just want to see that like that shows that technology can be positive. A lot of like our signals, they use crystals and they usually make artificial ones, but like they could start using natural ones. There's lots of them. And I'm sure Earth wouldn't mind if it would tamper, hamper down the frequencies, right? Like there's people that like have just lived under electrical wires and get sick. People that live by even windmills. So unfortunately, even windmills are very bad. The it's not good to do that. It disrupts the entire energy, and they'll have large fields with lots of them, and they're enormous. And that's so like there's a lot of work to do, but the answers are here. Like the Stephen had one of those guys on that talked about all the energy that's possible. There's thermodynamics, like in the whole element. I don't know if that's the applicable term for using the earth as energy, which we already know people can do, and they usually have to pay to set it up themselves. But you can stick rods in the earth, and I'm simplifying it here, and do what you need to do. And that sounds a lot more beneficial, like the frequencies, like a grounding mat, you plug it into the thing, right? Like that seems a lot more beneficial to have your entire house coming from the earth. So there's things we can do to make technology better. And we need to aim there. That's why I really want to start aiming towards the future and thinking like, what can we really do? Because a lot of the reasons why people are like, why is nothing better happening? Why is because the all is mind. And we need to think about what needs to happen. We need to actually plan it out. And I think that could be a large degree to what starseeds are here to do. We're here to heal our trauma, yes. But then once that trauma is healed, what are we birthing as a better world? Because the whole point, sovereign discernment, age of Aquarius, independent, you know what I mean? We need to decide what we actually want. And most of us were beaten and brainwashed out of having our own individuated thinking, be seen and not heard, and all such narrations that just permeated our existence all through those brainwashing years. And now we have to actually think and be like, and because it's we sitting on the beach, like everyone's like, oh, I want to retire and win millions and sit on the beach and just relax the rest of my life. And I'm like, I'm sure there's realities where that's a thing, maybe when you're in the Fey realms or something. But like in this reality, it comes very steeped with a mission.
Absolutely. And I, for one, am not one of those people because I have said if I retire, I will go crazy. Even when everybody has heard the goal of the farm and the land. It's not like we're going to go there, sit on the porch swing, kick our feet up, and that's it. It's going to be a working, living environment. Like it is a self-sustaining part of us. It's going to be almost a living organism of itself, right? And that is how you, in my opinion, coalesce with this reality. Like you can be completely self-sustained but work with the planet, the animals, all of them, and be able to survive outside the system. But you can still have that. I'm not going to throw you guys to the side and like never go on the internet again either when we move out there, right? There is that balance, and that's what, again, what the Kybalion is trying to teach you, is to find that middle of the road, right? You can be in the middle of polar opposites and be okay.
Yeah, well, when you get to the law of rhythm, that's where that one's really applicable. And because if you're too far on one side or the other, that's when you're going to create that imbalance. Because the law of rhythm, they mention it as a pendulum. And then there's even in transurfing the philosophy of pendulums, and they use it as like egregores, like these rhythms, these laws, these cycles. They create a life of their own, and they can pull you along on their waves. Like a lot of the brainwashing and sheeple behavior is automatically coming from that. Like what the masters do, and I know they do have dark magic rituals, but for the most part, they're relying on the law of rhythm to keep you trapped. They're relying on the law of cause and effects to keep you trapped. They're relying on the law of vibration to keep you trapped. Like they know the law. This is why when you hear people being like a Kabbalist, like most people in Hollywood, oh yeah, we're Kabbalists. Like if you actually look up what being a Kabbalist means and what that can, because I was one or am one, I don't know, I guess you don't not be one, but like I don't like to put my eggs all in one camp. But if you're a Kabbalist, you kind of know all this information is in there. You kind of know exactly how to manipulate reality. And then us average Joes are not exactly dominating the universe because we're not sacrificing, what, like, oh God, they're doing some dark, what, to get extra energy to fuel their pendulums. And they use those things. And then obviously those pendulums are now pretty much evil because they've been created with such powerful momentum. And then they use us, the news, the media, all Hollywood, to push narratives into us because we're the creator beings, and then we're trapped in this thing, and here we go. And then, but you can have your own individuated ones. Everything can be seen in the law of rhythm. Like, just like everything is vibration, every single thing is wrapped up in its own law of rhythm. But the master can find the center, and the master sits within the center and can use certain laws against each other from lowest to highest. So at the bottom you have gender, so you can use any of the other laws to supersede it. And then cause and effect, karma is number 6. So people worried about karma, it's number 6. You can use, especially the law of rhythm. This is where you can really use the law of rhythm to supersede any karma, and then use vibration. So how you would use an example of the law of vibration, the law of rhythm, and then the law of cause and effect, karma, to like your karma to be gone, is that if you've done something bad, but energies are getting really, really intense, but when your urge, so like earlier you talked about things happening and then realizing, like, were you causing it? Well, just earlier today, things were going weird, like magic, like things were, and then I know other people would think that was a ghost getting them, but like I was like, what's going on? And normally I just get mad and blame, just I go right to just God itself, like, how dare you let this happen to me? Like, but I felt that urge coming up, and I was like, wait, like, what if no one's trying to get you? And that's why I was like, oh, I'm just too excited. The law of rhythm, I was letting myself get too far up, so the accidents were happening to bring me back down. It's not nothing, nobody's trying to get me. It's because I got too excited, and I mean, that kind of bums me out. I've had depression over that. Yeah, you have to stay middle and centered. If you get too happy, law of rhythm. So you have to be the master, and with your vibration, like, I can actually get to a point now, because when that was all happening, it didn't just keep happening. As soon as I realized it was happening, I stopped and like felt myself center, toned down the excitement, like legitimately, energetically. Everything stopped going wrong. And just like that, by simply sitting there, feeling into the vibration and changing it. And that's it's a small thing to master. So I'm not saying I'm a master. That's a little thing. But this is what you can do for absolutely any. You feel the energy high, and
Oh, she was on You Feel the Energy High. And yeah, Jay, I'm just going to talk about this. She was on You Feel the Energy High. Um,
oh
there
good.
is weird shit. You got cut off at You Can Feel the Energy High.
Oh yeah, so when you're feeling the energy high, but then you start to see things might be going wrong, you can recognize that easily as that's the pendulum about to swing back. So take yourself and center. And does that mean sometimes when you're really, really happy, you have to take it down a notch? That's up to you. I mean, sometimes I'm like, I'll take the consequences, and like stub a toe or something. But like whatever it is, you can find the center vibrationally. And even the all is mind, like by tinkering your thoughts, because it actually, this is why people like, oh, I used to have the mentality, I'm not even going to bother being happy, because whenever I'm happy, something bad happens, because I was like a very manic person. So I'd be manically happy when I was happy. I was very like, very happy. But then all of a sudden I'd have horrendous depression. So I actually learned to just stop being happy.
Yeah, there. It is weird, and like I am literally at the stage that you're talking about now too, and it's like, what am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to be feeling? I don't want to go too far that way because I might screw it up, and I'll have to go over this way. But I don't want to be over there either.
Bliss and joy, though, just so everyone knows, so it's not depressing. Bliss and joy, that's where they're actually center feelings. They're actually super happy, super egoic, like, look how amazing I am. That's more like, or super excited about an event. So for me, I was excited about doing the show. I was excited to talk about the book because I really love it. Like, that's too far. But bliss and joy. So if I just had just been in peace, bliss, and joy that we were going to speak, that'd be different. But versus being, oh, I'm so excited to talk about the book, that's like where I feel like there's like variations that we just tweak, and so much can change.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it is a fine tuning system. It's like tuning an amplifier or a stereo. You have to find that right resonance that
Star
works.
Wars machine. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, So the next one is the principle or the rule of polarity, and everything is dual. Everything has poles, which we were just talking about. Everything is a pair, has its pair opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature but different in degree. Extremes meet. All truths are half truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled.
Yes. And this is where you can use the law of polarity and the law of rhythm together to help yourself as well. So, polarity, we know polarity. It's duality. It's hate and love. It's like and dislike. It's gross and great. Like it'll be the straight, like, so one of the things that I can't remember, it's in this book or it's in the Kybalion itself or it's in someone talking about the Kybalion, but they talk about how when you know what state you're in, again, this is when you can become a master. Because if you're in like a discontent state and you don't know what it is, you're kind of stuck. But if you know, like, I hate this person, well, you can actually take that and just by the power of your mind, because it supersedes all of them, you can change that to love like that. Like that's how you can transmute. And that's the most powerful thing. There's so many people that hate. As Stephen was saying it earlier about the reptiles. I love you, reptiles. Yeah, because when you take that, you do a transmutation process because you can always slide on the scale of polarity. You can always slide no matter what, but you can't go from one state to a different. They have to be on the same state, and you can use that for mastery. But at the same sense, walking through the universe, knowing what you're seeing, everything has a polarity. Nothing escapes it. This is why I talk of transmuting evil into darkness, because we want to go to a lighter world. So wouldn't that mean we're going to get more darkness? Because that's false light teaches you it's all light. That's not true. It's still going to be duality, where it could be true in other realms, but not this physical human flesh journey, or else we wouldn't be flesh. You need duality to be flesh. If anything that we've ever learned in this kind of information is to be believed, you need duality to have flesh, right?
Yeah.
So what are you going to do if you have to have evil? And if you want to all of a sudden make more light, won't that mean we have more evil? Which might be why there's certain, Epstein situations happening, because it might be because it's getting more light. So like it's creepily getting more dark and sinister in a concentrated dose. But we take that because darkness, it's evil is not the polarity of light. Evil is just a perversion of darkness. It's almost like a separate like kind of overlay on it that's just like not, it's weak, it's not as strong. Where darkness is different. Darkness has information, darkness has art. So much art, because I can't preach that enough, because if you think you have problems, start doing more art. And Sarah backs this up as well. She talks about like literally, because a lot of people's evil comes from the sacral chakra, just because that's where things can get really twisted up in different ways, but because shame and blame are in there. But if you become creative, that's where that portal is. And that's also where the God portal is, like the gut brain. And there's said that we have not just women, because women have the womb, but also men have a portal as well. It's just in a different place. It's not in an organ. It's like in its own beside, I think, still back close to the spine. It doesn't matter. But we all both have those portals, and that's a direct space connection to God. Like over the heart has one too, and then the third eye has one too, right? And they all have different versions, but the gut one's really important. It's extremely important. And when you are creative, I can't tell you how much it matters. Like I can't tell you how much it matters, because it's one of the biggest things that's actually helped change my life, is just simply doing all kinds of just random art projects. You don't need to be an artist. You don't need to be, it's not for anybody else. You could show people because that feels great. And it could be so many different things. It could be your nails. It could be your face. It could be your walls. Like I've been redoing everything. It could be actual paintings. It could be drawing. It could be making t-shirts. It could be writing books. Like there's art can be so many things, gardening, you know what I mean? Art can be so many things, but that is where you're really going to heal up all those situations. It's kind of off polarity, but really, because when we think about polarity, we know we live in a polarized world. People get disheartened by it, because that's going to have to stay the same. These are the laws of the universe. Nowhere have we heard in Ascension, oh, and those laws of the universe, yeah, they're going to change. We're going to get new ones. Like I've
Yeah.
never heard a credible channeler or anybody say that.
No, and I totally agree. Art is very therapeutic and a good way to alleviate bad energy. Even at a young age, I was an upset child, and my mom got me building model cars. And by the time I was like 10, I could put the engine of a car together. It sort of like art, but it's doing something cognitive with your hands. It really is. I think there's something to the tactile sensation that causes a healing within the self. Um, about the polarity thing, though, what I had written here is opposites are not different, rather varying degrees of the same thing on a broad spectrum. Same energy vibrating at a different frequency. If you think of like love and hate, they're just the opposite end of the same emotion, right? It's an emotional feeling towards that individual on that spectrum, right? And you look at, okay, even fear is just courage that hasn't found its power, right? That's the way you can look at these things. They're the same thing, they're just way apart. That's why they look opposite, but they're really just on a sliding scale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And there's so much in that, like the superhero and the nemesis. Like you see in the better plots, like what's it called? Megamind. You see it in Megamind, how like they realize they're not so different. Like they're both alienated. They're both, abandoned by their parents, or sorry, planets. And well, their planets were destroyed, but they have this like situation. That's always the arch nemesis superhero story. It's always the way. But and then all our archetypes, all our gods will always have an opposite god. Like Zeus has Hades and so on. Like there's Venus has Mars, or Ares, or yeah, no, I said it right. Yeah, Venus has Mars, but that's also Ares, and then Aphrodite, because they are each other's polar opposites. They are each other's polarity, and there's like lots of different thingies of it. But like they dance, it's a tango, right? Like this is why the tango. And then you even use that, like there is a law of gender, but it also is within the law of polarity. The whole dance we have with our genders right now, and masculine, feminine, what the F is going on there, how is it supposed to look? We were talking about that earlier today with Sam and Kirsten. Like, truth is, we don't have the answers. We know a lot of stuff about it. We can kind of maybe like, but we're still kind of figuring that part out, because it was so covered and diluted that, like, and I think that might have a lot to do with us seeing polarity and duality and darkness a lot more clearly too. If we had that one element, that's such a major element, you know what I mean? Like having, there's this one species of man and this other species of woman, but they don't actually like each other. They fight all the time, and they're the only ones on earth. Like if you're imagining just Adam and Eve, but they didn't get along, they're divorced. Like that's kind of a problem for all of Earth.
A little bit, yeah. No, I think that's a good summary of it. And um we're going to go back to the principle of rhythm, because I know we already kind of touched on it, but I think this one is very important, and I know it's one that you really love. And the basic summary I had here is everything flows out and in, everything has its tides, all things rise and fall. The pendulum swings, manifests. Uh, the pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because it just shows the motion of the universe. And I think it has a lot to do with the vibration. Like if you were to see everything as one, it's vibrating. Well, if you look really closely, maybe it's doing this, and it's just doing this at different rates, right? The law of rhythm. And it's like, it's the one where you most notice. It's the most obvious when you like, yo, I sidestep that, right? Like where you can really show yourself as a master. And the thing is you can show yourself a master to the lower ones easier, because the higher supersede the lower. So the lower you get, the more you stand a chance of mastering it, because like you can use all the laws above it as like tools to deal with it. So with the law of rhythm, like you have vibration you can work with, and the law of polarity, and the, like I described in the last one, so I couldn't really say it again better without probably just being boring, that it's mastering the law of polarity, finding the center point, or fully switching to the other side, because you have to kind of feel into it. What is the rhythm calling for you to balance it out, right? Because that's just what you want to do. And then seeking, like, middle pillar life kind of does this a lot for you. If you're in the Christ space, you're kind of already going to be just middle pillaring it. And any kind of time you hear the middle pillar, this is often why you want to seek a middle pillar path, because it keeps you safe from the pendulum. It keeps you safe from a lot of egregores and things like that, because when you're in the law of rhythm, that's how I think sheep will get swept up. It's the more you're a sheep, the more you're swept up in that law of rhythm, the more you're swept up in addictive patterns and things like that, because the ups and the downs of the highs and the lows, literally, of drugs, highs and lows, usually for more serious drugs. I'm not talking about psychedelics usually, unless you have a problem, but most people don't. I think they're good. But there's other drugs, especially cocaine is a very prevalent one right now. It's gone nuts. It's not even cheap. People just need to escape that bad. I find it more prevalent in atheistic people. It's like us like what's Steven's word, psychonauts, but like, not that I do it a ton, but I am a fan. that,
Yes.
that they kind of do a completely different thing versus what I feel like the atheistic people kind of go after the cocaine and stuff. And then you have your people that have just given up doing the even lower stuff. But those are like seeking the high, but then experiencing the low and seeking the high. And they get themselves to the point where they're even addicted to the low. So they'll cancel their addiction and then still have reasons and excuses because they're like addicted to some kind of cycle. Like why you'll leave one addiction and go into a different addiction, right? Like even I did it when I quit drinking. I went to Haagen-Dazs ice cream, and I've told this story before, and that hurt my stomach very badly. I shouldn't eat lactose, like and I knew that, but like I needed, because I realized alcohol was just, I wasn't even addicted. I wasn't really an alcoholic, but like the sugar in wine is off the charts, and like my body was like, it wasn't even the alcohol. It was like I need sugar, so we were doing we were doing candy. We had candy and just candy, like kids candy, and then we discovered Haagen-Dazs ice cream one night, and that was it, pralines and cream. And I rocked that for months. But then I was like, nope. And then I had to actually go through a process to get rid of that. And then I had to just continue to go through these processes. Like I've seen last, like Snickers and chips became a thing for a while. And like, they're kind of still my thing if I jump back, but I haven't, never jumping back again. No. But
Never.
like, there's always something that gives us. And then when we're sad and depressed, when we let ourselves fall in vibration, we are more susceptible to these patterns, because usually I'll be perfectly fine. But then something really sticky happens, you know what I mean? And it's part of sometimes I usually justify myself in those moments going, it's helping me alchemize. But like, it can, I don't know. But like, you're better off to just, because you have to keep escaping it, then you have to keep, if you're using it for something, you're going to have to keep escaping it. And it's over and over and over. And they're all rhythms. They're all rhythms getting you trapped up inside them until finally you're okay with just not having a super high, like eating an apple and a banana is not like, oh yeah, it's just sustenance, and they're good, but it's not really it doesn't touch the rhythm. And I felt so calm, and I've done this before. I go in and out of having my diet be perfect like a lot over the years, and I always, like, when I'm out of it, I'm like, why did I leave that? Like I was perfectly fine, and then why? I'm like, this food, because the food, it's so addictive. But still, it keeps you out of the law of rhythm to keep your food good. It keeps you out of the law of rhythm to keep your mind clear. It keeps you out of the law of rhythm to keep your heart pure and just in that Christ space, middle pillar. And that's how you are a master of the law of rhythm.
I absolutely agree. And the diet thing, totally. One of the things that this really brought to light for me was like how we're programmed with this, right? We're talking about it on this show, but let's be honest, there's a lot of people in a lot of positions of power that know how all of this stuff works, right? And they've known it for a very, very long time. And they've even programmed an entire construct of people with these laws. Why do you think it works so well for them, right? And one of the things that they've programmed us to do is to see our lows as failures and our highs as success. And this system that we live in gives us something to treat our lows and something to occupy us while we're in our highs, right? This is all, you did a study on this, dopamine and the chemicals in the brain. They have figured out that you can make a person feel bad when they're, you know, they're having a low. You can make them feel an absolute failure. All you have to do then is tell them a couple of times that they're an absolute failure while they're down low. And that's going to be the applied emotion that just comes in naturally. And then, you did something good, Donnie. Good boy. Okay, here's a bonus. Go spend a bit of money on your wife. Okay, I'm going to go spend all this money because I feel great right now. Well, I just did exactly what they wanted me to. I just followed the program, right? Instead of just being like, yeah, I did my job. That's great. We are specifically programmed to feel these things. And they've gotten it to the point where your low points start to cause panic. And your panic puts you into like fight or flight. It's a somatic response, right? This entire construct works on these principles. And that's why I thought it was really important that we need to talk about this, because if they know it, then we should know it as well, because it kind of balances the playing field, right? But it really is that center point of freedom. Like, don't try to, I'm not saying don't enjoy anything, because that would suck, right? But don't
Just
go
don't
too
go manic. Yeah,
yeah,
don't let it be manic. Let it be pure.
exactly, right? We're so dualistic in this reality, and it doesn't need to be that way. It's not productive or useless. You can just be existing and be happy with what you have, and you can want more and welcome more and bring more in. But just because, well, I'll use myself, just because you live in a single wide trailer that isn't exactly the warmest in the winter doesn't mean you need to feel bad about it, because guess what? 30 years ago, you were sleeping in a dumpster, right? So there's a difference. It's just the reflection of seeing where you've come as well, I think.
Exactly. And knowing that now that you know what you know, like this is just a waiting period. I remember it was like that for me. Like when I positively was awakening, um, we were back in an apartment at that time because we'd had a house with my sister, and then when I had my baby, didn't have the baby yet, but as soon as I got pregnant, he's like, I don't want to raise the baby with your sister here. Which is why we were devastated. I was very mad for years. But he made me move back into an apartment, and I just couldn't handle it. I'm like, you're making me move back into a fucking apartment. I'm 27. Like, I thought like I'm about to be a mom. I'm about to like, be an adult finally, and you're making me go back to an apartment. And I was devastated. But we lived there for whew, 4 more years. So we ended up living there for 4 years. And during that time, I was conspiracy level awake when I was first there. But I was already positively awakening. Like I was in that middly period. But by the end of it, I was laughing. I was laughing. I knew so much that I was like, get in that house. And I even set up a shrine with the house I wanted, which was this, yeah, it's that I didn't get that one because, well, it wasn't there's a large market here. We talked about that where corporations get it. And the house was it was already broken up to apartments. And I wanted to make a whole cool house because it was made, because they turn all cool houses into a bunch of apartments now. But I was going to take it back. But anyways, I didn't get that one. But like you didn't get just your thing, right? Like you don't get it, and you really put yourself into these places, man. You do fall in love. But it worked out because this house ended up pushing us way further out of the city. So, but I manifested it, and I just knew, like I was just, yeah, good English. I knew that the house was coming and right away. And sure enough, it did. Miracles happen that provide. It turned out like we didn't have, if it's your first time buying a house in Ontario, I don't know if it's Canada or Ontario, but you don't have to pay taxes on the house. And that's a huge chunk. Taxes on a house, that's a ton of money. And you get a rebate for the lawyer or something, like your first lawyer you get, or no, it's the lawyer that got us the thing free. No, the lawyer might not have been a deal, but he just, I don't know. I forget. But that's a huge chunk right there, the taxes. And then there was other things that played out that just bam, bam, bam. Once I was like, no, it's decided. We had this house within a couple months and everything aligned for it to happen, for us to get it. And then, and it's just funny. But like now it's like, I decided so surely about it. I'm not usually like that. I'm actually very indecisive. So that's a problem now with manifesting. Like I got us new cars though, because no, I love my van. Sorry. I got him two different new cars because the first one I guess fucked up the manifestation. And I didn't realize if you buy a car at 130 kilometers, because that didn't seem like a lot, you have till 300. But my husband commutes so far, he was up to like 260 before, and it just constantly was breaking down. It was like only a 2016, but then I was like, that's it, let's get a brand new car, because like we keep buying these like used, my vans, I love my van, but I got it from my grandma because she got a DUI, lol. But I love my van though. And now we have a brand new Durango, and that works out too, because we had our baby bonus canceled because, government. But we ended up getting it back just in July, and it was slightly just like $30 more than what the car payment is. So it literally is like no extra. We got the exact money we need for the car. So like when you decide, I know houses and cars seem silly, but like you need them, right? Like you need a place to live, you need a vehicle to get around in. So like, and you've had manifestation stuff with your truck too, right? Because they're
Yep.
just key. Because I know I'm like, oh, you're so basic, because I can't think, and I want my kids to be happy. Oh, that's yeah, and like kids to be safe and all that thing, which on lock, kids to have everything they need, which they have, and things like that. I can do that kind of stuff. Even stuff, I know it's so easy to make stuff, but what do I want my life to look like? That's kind of a thing for me right now. I do like doing this, and this is like, it kind of more feels like, I don't want to say a hobby because I super love it, so it's like a big deal to me, but like, I don't know. I don't know what to manifest right now is kind of what I'm saying.
It is, and I did have an interesting one with our truck, as most of the listeners will know. Um, my interdimensional exit buddy got T-boned in November, but before that, we had actually thought about, next time we buy a truck, I want the hood with the louvers. I like it. It looks cool. I want running boards because I have short, little, tiny legs, and it's a pain in the ass getting in my truck. And I wanted this. When she got in the collision, the truck that we bought to replace it had everything we wanted, except we didn't mention that we wanted that truck to have the same size engine. So we missed a key point. We got the exact truck we wanted. It's parked in the laneway, but it has a smaller engine than the one that we had before. Right? One thing, and it's like, oh, universe, you sneaky. I see. You bastard.
That's funny. And we wanted something like the Journey, and the Durango is basically like the newer, because I didn't even realize it discontinued the Journey, because they have extra seats. I
Yep.
like being able to take the kids' friends or something if we want to go somewhere, because we fill up a normal 5-seater, and then we wanted to be able to pull the trailer that we want to get to come visit everyone. But because then the trailer's next. So, oh yeah, so I guess I have to manifest my trailer, but that's pending as of March.
Yeah. Awesome. So number 6 is the principle of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Uh, sorry. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for a law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law.
Exactly. And that's karma. So most people have a good understanding of karma. That's karma. And it's why karma's not personal. Like people are like, oh, if God loves me, there shouldn't be karma. No, no. Because you accumulate, it's like accumulating energy, but it's going to have to fire off. Like the negative and the positive work together inside the battery, right? Like when you do something this way, it's going to fire off that way. But because it's one of the lower laws, like that's a law. There's no negotiating with that if you just look under it. But all of a sudden, when you look over it, because these are each like their own realm, now all of a sudden it's like, whoa, it's easy to fix karma, right? Fix your vibrations, fix your thoughts, get a hold of the law of rhythm, learn about the law of polarity and figure out what the opposite is, right? You want to be able to do these things. And then kind of karma is like, it's not a thing. Like I doing retribution is why people do rituals a lot too. Like it gets the energy going, yes, but you can also dot your your T's and your I's with karma if you figure it out. If people make offerings, like this is why witches do spells and they'll make offerings. They're trying to level out the karma. I'd rather not diddle with that. Like just don't. If you the best way, because yes, you can be a master and supersede karma, but like are you a master? Like, let's be honest. This is why people that are like, oh, I'll just transmute this cheeseburger. But are we at that Christ level yet? Are we? Are we actually transmuting that cheeseburger? Right? Like, no, you're probably not. Right? You might be helping. Like, eating your McDonald's happy is better than like, oh, I can't believe I'm eating it. Right? But that's, you're not going to get out of the karma of that stomach ache. I doubt it. You know what I mean? I highly doubt it. Whoever's telling themselves that, good luck. But there's gonna have repercussions, and when it comes to eating, it's really obvious to see the karma hits you in your body. But sometimes karma can be so random. Like, my daughter will like sass me because I try to always give evidence to the laws of the universe. I'm always talking about this at home too. I'm always like this, but she'll like stub a toe or fall. So I'm like, karma. She'll have just like yelled at me earlier or something like that. And it's just funny trying to teach them, like, because it's true though, like, because honestly, I was a chronic toe stubber as well. Like, use it in my examples so much, like, ridiculous. Like, I was like, what, WTF? Like, why? All the time. Since I started fixing vibrations and harmonious living and middle pillar, trying to be middle pillar. I'm not ever claiming to be perfect at it, but that's the goal, right? And that's the best we can do, and then aim and act towards it. But like, since I started doing that, there's like never any toe stubbings. Oh my God, twice in this last week, because the I don't know, I guess the dynamic on my island changed, like, kitchen islands, and mayonnaise and then a jar of jam fell off 2 different times. And I was looking this way at the sandwiches I was making, and my hand automatically, without any prompt for myself, like, and caught them both times. And it's like, yeah, I need to fix the island, I guess. But also like, whoa, because usually I'm a clumsy person. But very like lately, the more aligned I get, I've all of a sudden realized like I've got ridiculous, like one of my kids jumped at me from like behind to the side, and I literally whoosh, and got them, even though I didn't even know they were there. It was just full instinct. Like, my mind didn't go like, do this. My body just went and grabbed them. And that they assumed I would, because they're silly, but so it all worked out. But it's just things like this that start to work out, things that could have been karma, where like you can see the evidence, like almost like a Mandela effect of a timeline switch, where you can see like where something like almost, but it didn't. And it's like, because you're changing, you're not aligning with when you did the bad thing. And you can even look at timeline switching with this, but when you change your vibrations, you change timelines, right? But you alter the course. So it's one of the laws you can really be a master on.
Absolutely. And I do want to touch on the like McDonald's karma thing. I've told the story before when I broke my teeth months ago that I went into a deep meditation. I almost made a joke there and said transcendental. Right. But I was like, I went into this meditation and I was like, look, I know I can't really afford to fix my teeth right now. What do I have to do? And I had a conversation with my tiny universe that is my body. And it's like, okay, lay off the sugar. And I've done my best I used to be that guy that had the drawer full of candy beside the bed. We called it snack shelf, right? Constant junk food. I said, okay, that's fine. Cold turkey, like, unless it's like a spoonful of sugar in my coffee, even that is now honey, right? I've changed a lot of my eating. Well, my biological father passed away last week, and I grossly got into the funeral baked goods, and my teeth have been angry at me ever since. And that is my karma, because I broke my deal with my little universe, cause and effect.
Yeah, and I can relate to that. My mom died last February, like last, not the one that just passed. And my eating was perfect before then. Look at my videos. I'm actually maybe a little too skinny. I'm like I'm very like, I was very into fasting and stuff then. I was perfect. I was working out all the time. Everything was going really mint that way. But then my mom died, and all of a sudden food became a very big deal. And I've been honestly struggling with that ever since. I've been in and out of being good and bad, not really bad like before, but like still like struggling with that, because deep emotional pain will lead us to something to fix it.
Oh, absolutely. And like, you and I both share addictive personalities just from the things that we've talked about. And like the fact that we've matured enough that food is the go-to instead of the other things that we used to would have led to like terrible decisions and debauchery. I think we've grown as as people, I have to kind of say, like, hats off to both of us that we went there instead of other places, because that's a big step for people that have had problems with self control. I,
Yes,
I
exactly.
was trying to think how to say that nicely.
No, it's true. And that's it's funny too because when I first quit drinking officially, but I'd been not really drinking much before that anyways, I'd already really toned down the partying and stuff, but I decided to just officially quit. And like a month or so later, not even, we got the diagnosis. Like my mom got her diagnosis, and I was like, "Holy mother!" And it was she was supposed to die right then and there, but luckily she did. But she ended up lasting 4 more years, and so I was like, wow. And even my family joked, like, that would have been, I was like one thing away from being a full blown alcoholic. Like at one point, I was really close to being like a full blown alcoholic, like in my patterns. It was not there yet, but like I was like, oh my God. And I just quit drinking. So that was very synchronous. And then it hit me when she did go. I'm like, I would just like, the cliche drown in a bottle, like level of emotions. But instead, you just like get some chips.
No, absolutely. Before we get into number 7, which is the principle of gender, I'm actually going to throw up Jay Skyrunners here. He can't manifest anything.
Oh,
What
I can't. I thought that said I can. Oh,
it says I can't. What would your base
I have
advice
to
be?
say that is always the case, but it's that you hate yourself. It's you're your own worst enemy. You hate yourself. And I say this as someone who hated myself. I would literally choke myself and punch myself like eons ago. Back, well, not eons really. Like about 10 years ago, I could say I was good, but not perfect. But before that, oh God, it was dark. Like I was always on the verge of suicide. I was always doing things to hurt myself. And then I slowly and surely got out of that, but I like absolutely effing hated myself. And like the whole life surrounded that. I'm not saying you're that dark whatsoever, but I got out of that. And years and years, I was spiritually evolving, but I still wasn't hitting that manifestation point. And then it hit me like, holy fuck, you still hate yourself. Like you still hate yourself. You've done all these things, but what came down to helping was honoring this self. So like what do you want in like a spoiled way that you could do to honor yourself in a loving way? Because I feel like a lot of the time in the spiritual community, we really push ourselves very hard and far and fast, but don't always give ourselves the kudos to see how far we've come. We see like we're not there yet, but we don't see how far we've come. We don't see that like, oh, but a year ago I was in this place, and a year ago I was doing this situation. And we don't see like the baby steps, like even now, like Donna and I are saying, we're not perfect yet, at all, not yet. But
Mhm.
like, how far have we come from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, like, 20 years ago? Like, how far back can you take it where like you've been improving? Like, is it a stasis or is it just improving not fast enough? And then you have to ask, what are you manifesting? Is it actually in alignment? Does the ego want it or does the true self want it? Because authenticity is one of the things I found. Because, like I said, like I've kind of run out of things to even work on manifesting. Not that I have everything by any stretch of the means, but we start to realize like we weren't even taught properly how to think about our future, how to envision our future, how to enjoy our future. We were told this was a world where you work until you die kind of thing, or maybe you're lucky and you get to retire if maybe you're lucky to get one of those jobs that have a pension, but you would have been working basically your entire life with only 2 weeks off a year, even if you're lucky there, right? Because in America, that's not a guarantee. It is in Canada. But even still, that's like, right? Like, that's not, some places are changing, and that's one thing we can manifest. Like, we need to change what we think the future is. And that's like what I really am trying to think, even for myself now and for society. Like, we need to change what the vision is, because a lot of people are finding stalls and manifestations and things like that. Like I did with my coaching business. Watch my old videos. I talk all the time about being a coach. I did have a few clients, but like I can enjoy one of them. Like I enjoyed one. So like the reason the business wasn't taking off is because I don't know, it wasn't me. I'm very good at it, not to be a horn blower, but just because you're really good at something doesn't actually mean it's your soul's calling, right? Or it's not calling now. Maybe it's something I need to be an old lady for, who knows? But like when it's your thing, it actually can happen very fast. And I think a lot of the times we don't know our true selves. We hate who we are. We're too much shame and blame for who we used to be, or not. Like there's so many variables that come into that this is where like you discuss like, well, what is the manifestation? What are you trying? And just really unpack it, dissect it, really therapize yourself on, question yourself on, why do I want this? Why ask yourself why you don't think you deserve it. Even if you think you think you deserve it, just see how that feels. Sit and ask yourself, why do I think I don't deserve this? And I bet, and when you sit in like actual stillness with a lot of sensory deprivation, like just quiet, you find like a lot of like guides, answers, like just your own mind will just come in with, why do I not deserve this? Because you did this, because you did that, because you're not doing this, because you're not doing that. The mind stories that come into our brain to make enemies of outside people, or to make ourselves not good enough, or whatever, because there's so many variations in this, right? That we could stick in the way as like a mind story. And we often don't realize this. This is like awareness. Like we can be so blind to ourselves. This is why I love Samantha. And she really helps me like see myself clearly. And Dawn, you have it too. Sam, I checked on your chart. Sam has 33. It makes people spill their guts, and you have it too. I had a feeling as soon as she told me about it and she asked to check, I was like, I bet you Dawn has it too. And I went and I looked, and you did. It's channel 33 in human design, and it makes people just want to tell you stuff. It just makes people want to tell you the truth. But by doing that, she was able to see like, oh, maybe you should think about this way, or maybe you should think about that way. Yeah, if anyone should be a coach, it should be Sam. Sam, I'm making you a coach now.
Yeah. Sam, you're going in, you're coaching.
Yeah, right? Like, because she's just so good at seeing the thing, right? And just really being, I don't know, because that's what we need sometimes. We need to see that thing to become aware of it. And then once we're aware of it, we can work through it. Because I mean, that's the raw truth, and no one likes to hear it. Like, if you're not manifesting, it's nobody else's fault. Nothing else is in the way, but we are the entire universe. It's not to say like, it's not to belittle anything. It's to actually make and show you how much you are God, you are the universe, and how complicated, diverse, and multifaceted you are. Because these blocks and these things and these twists that get in the way, and they get in the way for all of us for different reasons. They have a reason, and it could be you hate yourself. It could be a block. It could be that it's not divinely aligned. It could be that it's not time yet. But if it's absolutely everything, if you're not manifesting anything, you really have to look at how you feel about yourself. Because if it's absolutely nothing, if things are going very bad, or if things just nothing's working out, then ask yourself how you feel about yourself, and really sit with yourself. Pamper yourself, like date yourself, romance yourself, treat yourself like you're special. Like you would treat, if you met a love and you wanted to swoon that love, how would you treat them, right? Do that for yourself, know thyself, right? And just love yourself, give yourself the nurturing, heal the inner child, and things will work out, because manifestation is automatic when we're aligned. And I'm not even perfectly aligned, like pretty much none of us are, but you get like levels, and there's things that you do match with, and you start to find what's more and more and more your authentic thing, and then it starts to work out more and more and more, and it's just ever increasing.
That is excellent advice, and I hope that really resonates with you, Jay. And if you want, I've got Spinja found it for me, a 40-minute breakdown on the Kybalion and a lot of these principles. If it even that is just something to refresh. Like there's a lot of this stuff that I knew, but there was a lot of it that I had missed, and it is a good little cram session. So if you want it, just hit me up on Facebook and I'll send that to you for sure. So last but not least, and this is not the social issue that everybody thinks it is.
You could say it. Yeah. Keep going. Sorry.
The principle of gender is the last one. And gender is in everything. Everything has masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes, is what I
Yeah, everything has a gender. It's male or female. It doesn't matter what it is. It has a gender, male or female. And that's just the way it is. But it is the bottom law. And frogs switch genders. So gender, I'm not like saying I'm for the humans actually cutting themselves up and switching genders. If we, by whatever reason, by all of mind power, switch genders with our mind, fantastic. But other than that, I'm not okay with any kind of cutting anybody up for any reason. Like no reason. If you're hit by a bus, I mean, I'm not going to say, I guess you die. Like go get saved, whatever. But like if you don't need to be cutting into your body, don't cut into your body, because it's beyond traumatizing for the body. Like, I couldn't go on enough about that. I talk about it a lot in a lot of my shows, because it's just wow. And then beyond the what's going on in that narrative, which that's a big one. That's a doozy that they're coming at us with, because those kids are star seeds. They're getting the star seeds because you pretty much can't find a gay man or woman that's not a star seed. Like, they're probably guaranteed to be a star seed. So what is this? It's attack on star seeds. And they found a perfect way to get it in. They might even be getting non-star seeds that just, I don't know if, the word attention has come out, that there's this like real craving for attention, which I've spoken on before, that if kids had mothers, they wouldn't need so much outside attention in just the most bizarre ways you could ever imagine, because they don't have their mothers. They're dropped off at daycare as soon as they're born. That's a huge, huge, huge issue, because gender comes down to like, when they say it in this book, though, they're not getting really philosophical, but the divine masculine and feminine, though that's definitely an issue. Like, when you hear gender, they're simply just meaning the scientific fact that absolutely everything is gendered. Everything has, and that would even be like polarity. Everything has a check mark on one side or the other, male or female. And it is actually as simple as that for that law. It's not exactly the flashiest or fun law. You don't really need to worry about it, except just that it's known in the laws of the universe. So that being said, that probably means aliens are male or female.
Absolutely. And basically it just again shows the dualistic nature of the society and how you need both to create. And if you can reach that place of oh shit, I just forgot the word. The balance of male and female energy. There's a word for it and I can't think of it right now.
Unity?
Uh
No.
no. But you need both sides of the male and female energy to be completely creative and best able to flow through this reality, because you do require both types of energy in this existence.
Yeah, do you mean like cohesion? Because like when they're in, I could see that when they're in a cohesion, when they're in a symbiotic relationship, because we are different, but we're equal, but we're different. And we spin, and we actually switch away from being equal at points, like not drastically, but like 1% to 1%, depending on the cycle at the time, just to keep it moving, though. That's how you keep motion. If it was actually just 50-50 all the time, this is why we have patriarch ages and then matriarch ages, and then we're switching back into a matriarch. So it was the men at 51 now, and look how much damage came from that. Now it's the females at 51%. And then how that's supposed to look, because they talk about pure unity, but that actually goes against like the universe continuing. It actually always does have to tip the scale just a scotch. Like, it might not even be a full 51%. It might be like 49.99999 versus 50.00001. Like, it's microscopic just to give it that swirl, right? And then that's where you could debate till the end of time which one's actually that little bit bigger.
Fluidly androgynous, that's what I was trying to say.
Oh, yes. I do think the starseed in general is much more androgynous in nature for a variety of different factors. I think honoring our gender is powerful just for embodiment. It's very powerful. But like, I see a real lack of giving into old stereotypes, literally not even resonating with past stereotype. That's not even part of my like thing at all, like ever. It's really out of my DNA, and I see it out of a lot of people's DNA, like where they're just not into that narrative anymore, and not like how it was. Like, we want it brand new. Whatever we're looking with gender, brand new.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've gone almost 2 hours again, and I think we're probably not going to get into the other 5 because Spinja and I found like you can look up the 12 universal laws. There's one that says 25.
There's only 7. The 12 are coming, because we can even do like another episode, because they're actually birthing out. There's subsections that people have actually brought up out of the 7. The 7 that is it. And then technically only the 1, but 7. Those others are made later. They're the law of action and stuff. That's it's important, and it's a good way to phrase it, but really that's like, you could put that into vibration or the all is mind. Like, that's part of those ones, and they're just combining them to show you ways to use it.
Absolutely. And that was the other ones that I had, because like that's what I was saying, is there's the initial 7 Hermetic principles that are like the laws of the universe, and then it's expanded into 12, and then there's another one that's like 25, and I think
Yeah.
she found one that was like 110, and I was like, okay, we're not doing 110, I know that, but like
Mhm.
I absolutely want to continue to break these principles down, because this stuff isn't taught in school. It's not taught in religion. It's not taught in therapy. It's not taught on television. And there's a freaking reason. And one of the biggest reasons, and this is not crapping on it, this is under the whole principle of they have to show you. If you can read that,
Oh, sorry for my close-up face. The life of wisdom are does it say cursed except to the mm,
yeah,
of understanding? What's the word at the beginning of there before of understanding?
uh,
The-
ancient Egypt. But the whole thing is at the bottom, the Yogi Publication Society Masonic Temple.
Oh, yeah, yeah, oh yeah, for sure. No, I think a lot of good stuff came from the Masons. I think a lot of that's twisted because they just like bad guys. They
Oh,
kept the information away from people because people can't be trusted with that information. But now we need to tell everybody the information or the earth dies. So it's like, oh, no holds bar. Everyone's got to know or it's over. But we're at that place because of so many star seeds that we can do that. And there's a larger population of star seeds that can be trusted, but the average Joe can't be trusted. Oh my God, I've told that story. But when I went on Quora, hundreds and hundreds of people talking about black magic. It was just ridiculous. Like, so I was like, what? This
yeah.
many people are thinking about it. Like when I would think of evildoers, I think of like one guy in 1,000 or 1,000,000, not like a ton of people just on Quora. Like, how do we do black magic? What's the best thing for this black magic spell? And I'm like, do you just want attention, or are you that many evil people? Like, do you, duh.
I I have had serious questions if there is stuff being thrown at this community. Like I know we were talking about a
Like
lot
they're
of
fake posts. Ah,
yeah.
sorry. Going, wow. Yeah.
I know we were talking about a lot of spiritual attacks are self-inflicted, but there are also some freaking wingnuts out there that are
They
casting
try
black
to
magic shit.
They do, and they try to convince us. They try to trick us into manifesting it ourselves, is the main thing that they do. They try to
Yeah,
trick us into feeling like we're nothing and being too busy with dumb stuff that we manifest shit for ourselves. Because and then they just play that game. And I know they can do stuff. I don't know. I don't like to believe that. I don't want
well,
to.
it doesn't exist. We say this quite often, not on my timeline. And it's like, yeah, that's
Yeah,
nice.
exactly. I'm
I,
like, no, not for me. I refuse.
or if you want to be kind of snooty and like about it, NIMBY was the one that went around for the longest time, not in my backyard. Well,
Yes,
not mine either,
exactly.
right?
Mhm. Yep.
Well,
No way. I feel a dome over this entire town. Like I feel that. And then wherever I have to kind of be watchful when we're out. It's not, I do actually notice it's not quite the same protection, but in this entire town, there's a dome like of protection.
I I think so, and I think certain places draw certain energetic individuals, and it's fascinating the things that are going on in this community and what we're discovering.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Like I'm open to believing anything, but at the same time, pretty much everything is being spilled out, especially when you get into channeled stuff. So it's really the age of discernment, like really, and that's why, to close it off, I love the Kybalion because if it's arguing with the Kybalion, throw it out. And like maybe I'm a fanatic for the Kybalion, but oh well, then I am, and that's just the way it is. And you could take that as it is. But if something is saying anything about the Kybalion is not a thing, you got to question where they're hearing that because it just is the most thing. And ask your gnosis. It's true.
I absolutely agree, and I haven't come across anything that resonated on this level, and I'm going to have to read it through a couple of times because there's a lot to take in and a lot that you have to kind of wrap your head around. But absolutely worth looking at. I know there's even free websites that you can get a PDF of the Kybalion. I would suggest that for anybody if you can't go get the book
Yeah.
itself. Definitely give it a read. It explains the principles of our reality, and it's shit that we're not taught under the public education system, church, religion, or therapy, right? It's there's a fact. If we had been, we'd know this by now,
Hmm.
right? And
Absolutely.
yeah, and again, I'll say it's not philosophy, it's science. So
Hmm. Absolutely. And like I'm just like a preacher for the all is mind, because anytime anybody is like, okay, the all is mind, and then once you see that on any situation, it does something. Hello, the all is mind. And then where does that mean? Here, 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 and here. So of course they don't want us to know this, because if we knew the all was mind and we all knew it, because the problem is like there's a lot of us individually waking up to realize how, and don't get into solipsism, because we are that, the universe is that complicated that we are all God individually, no time and space. You will be every single person. One thing you should dive into, Don, after the Kybalion is the physics of consciousness. I think you would love it, by Ivan Antic. It's the next one that's like on my, it's my Bible list, you know, because it's just, yes, the anthropic principle, like just yes. And the two pair together just perfectly.
Awesome. I am going to have to check that out. And I'm also going through the secret books that, yeah, I've got a lot of learning to do, and these interviews are going to get
I
more
would
and
skip
more.
the Gnostics if I was being biased, because I feel like I wasted time with them. Like they taught, like there was the odd thing, but most of it was just gibber, like biased, because they argue with each other, they counteract each other, so clearly someone's wrong. And where there's other, like you don't find that in the Hermetics. They don't, there's not much. I mean, some other outside sources wrote books that can get, but like your core material, like the Hermetica, Corpus Hermetica, and then there's another one too, and then the Kybalion, there's three really good ones. They don't argue with each other, they're perfectly in line and succinct.
So there's your reading list, people. And
Hmm.
I'm going to have to check them out too. Where can everybody find you to check you out? And I'm going to have to fix the description because I forgot to put your links in. So I'm
Oh,
going to fix
it's
that
just
after.
transcendingascension.com, so it's super easy. And I have a
Okay,
store now and books with Seed Awakening t-shirts.
that is awesome. I want to thank you again for coming on, Diana. I can't believe we just ran through 2 hours that quickly, but we did again.
I
Um,
know. I'm tired.
and I know it's later where you are than where I am. So I want to thank everybody that showed up and participated in the chat, everybody that's listening to this in the future. And like I always say, if you can go outside, please do, because it's a lot better than sitting in front of this screen. Love you guys.